to a TechFlow video about a TV. Now, over the last holiday period, I made over my lounge/cinema room, and as you can see behind me, it looks really good, or at least I'm really pleased with it anyway. Now, the main reason behind me doing this was this TV. And no, not this new one behind me, the previous panel that I had in here. Now, there was a few things wrong with that TV. Specifically, number one, it was just far too big for the room, and number two, it wasn't an OLED. So when Sony a couple months back reached out to me and said, "Hey Alex, can we send you our new A80J in returns for a review?" it would have been really hard for me to say no. And this video is those reasons why. So for those of you that watch closely at the TV space, you'll know that this TV behind me, the A80J, is already half a year old. But that only means one good thing really for this TV behind me, and that is that it's going to come down in price quite a bit, which it has done over the last 6 months. You can pick this TV up behind me for about £1,500, which is really competitive in the 4K OLED 120Hz gaming space. Now, I want to start this video off by talking about the gaming experience on this TV, seeing as I've basically built this entire setup behind me around the new PlayStation 5. So now, basically, hooking the PlayStation 5 up to this thing makes for a pretty awesome gaming experience in the few select games that are actually optimized for 120, like Call of Duty and Rocket League. The input lag measured on this model specifically, the A80J, is 8.5 milliseconds, and that is exactly the same as its bigger brother, the A90J, so if you were looking at these two TVs specifically for gaming, you'd go no wrong getting the little brother. Now, that 8.5 milliseconds of input latency is really impressive on its own, but it's even more so impressive inside of this Sony TV because of all the processing that Sony does to the image. And there's some processing on gaming that I really like. Because of Sony's XR processor, it makes the gaming feel really immersive and smooth is the word that I've got written down here. So if you're into gaming, and especially if you've got a PlayStation 5, this is where you need to spend your money. Let's talk about the design of this TV, and in my opinion with TVs, there's basically two camps. You either jeopardize some features in returns for a really thin panel that looks as close to a picture frame as possible, or you make the TV thicker and reap all of the benefits that will come along with that, like better cooling and thermals, superior audio quality, more I/O, you get the point. Sony have met us all in the middle here, with a TV that appears thin at a glance to look at. However, when you peer around the back of this thing, it's a completely different story. When the TV is powered on, it's basically just as frameless as any other TV I've tested, but Sony have gone with a different approach here by slapping this box on the back. Now, to me, it looks great, but it just depends what you want to go for. If that picture like super flat against the wall, really thin thing is what you want, then this TV really isn't for you. And obviously with all of that added extra room around the back of the TV, Sony have done some really impressive things, which may sway you towards wanting to purchase this TV specifically. So what are some of these clever things that Sony have done then, Alex? And there's a few, but one of my favourites is the audio quality that comes from this TV. Now, I never thought I'd ever hear myself saying this, but you don't need to buy a soundbar with this TV. Like, you do not need to at all. Now, Sony call this acoustic surface audio. Now, this sounds pretty crazy, but basically what they're doing is vibrating the actual screen of the TV itself to create the sound. So there isn't actually any specific speakers on this TV, like downward firing ones or firing out the side. The screen itself is the speaker. And obviously you can hear this in person as you get close to the TV and actually put your ear up to the TV. You can pinpoint where the sound is coming from the front of the panel. It's really quite cool. However, it's not only that, they've also included a subwoofer in the back portion of this TV, which actually can play really, really deep. And it's the reason that I would recommend that you don't need to buy a soundbar when purchasing this TV, because the sound quality is great. And with that subwoofer, you can really crank this thing without any noticeable distortion. And honestly, if you can't take my word for it, just look at something that I saw on Reddit. People rave about the sound quality from these TVs. It's not just me. One of the other things is too, with the bigger space on the back to work with, they can fit in more cooling, which means they can pump more power into this TV. What does that mean for a TV? Basically, it can get brighter. So have you ever seen like a TV in a really lit room and you can't really see it? You won't have that problem with this TV because it's bright enough. In here, it's quite a dark room and I have it most of the time sitting around 50%. So even with HDR content in a fairly well-lit room, you'll still be able to see everything on the screen here. Now, I found that when comparing this panel to other OLEDs in the same price range, that the colours were naturally just a little bit warmer on the Sony. Slightly more vibrant too, but not to the point where it's overdone, and it has noticeably better visibility in low light scenes, rendering more detail available there for the viewers to see. But for me personally, it's the XR motion that really does it and really sells these TVs. Not only for gaming, but when you're watching sport or even when you're watching movies, the XR motion in this TV makes everything feel liquid smooth. And that is the only way that I can describe it to you. If you can, try and get yourself down to your local shop and demo it, but make sure you go into the settings and turn on the XR motion, because it really makes everything from playing games to watching films really fluid and smooth. It's almost Moorish. Here's 5 annoying things about this TV. I wish that it came with a backlit remote. The A90J comes with one and it's cool and useful, especially in the dark, but you can buy it as an extra if you really, really want it. Because this TV is thin but also thick in places, you need to be extra careful when you handle it if it's on a bracket, as you don't want to handle it by the thinnest point of this TV. Now, you have to use Google with this TV as a service if you want access to all the streaming apps and things like that. Now, if you don't want to use Google, you can set this up as a basic TV and use it with all the inputs, but if you want the smart stuff, it's Google or nothing else. The bezel isn't the same thickness across the bottom as it is around the sides and top of the screen, but this is only really, really slight. Only 2 of the available 4 HDMI ports are HDMI 2.1 and can carry that 120Hz signal. Now, here's 5 amazing things about this TV.
Auto Genre Picture Mode is a feature that automatically detects when you're playing a game or watching a movie, and it will switch to the corresponding mode automatically. This means that when you're playing a game, the TV will turn off certain image processing, which minimizes lag and makes the whole experience more responsive. And obviously, when you're watching a movie, it prioritizes image quality and turns the processing back on, basically saving you the hassle.
It has integration with all the smart home ecosystems, including Apple HomeKit, which is great because I've been using that loads recently. The Google interface is really nice, with little in-your-face advertisements, and the TV's actual OS is really responsive when navigating the UI, which is nice to see.
Auto HDR tone mapping is a feature you get when you use a PlayStation 5 with this Sony TV. Now, you set it up at a system level and all the games are set from there. Basically, it's going to make sure that you can see into the shadows and all of the highlights of the image, like the sky, aren't completely blown out.
If you have a compatible surround sound system, you can actually use the TV's inbuilt speakers as the center channel for your surround sound, which is great for all you minimalists out there. So, the question on everybody's tongues, should we pick up this TV now? Now, finally, with that software update, we've got 120Hz fully enabled here, which makes this basically the TV to get if you're a PlayStation owner due to the integration. But if you want a TV for watching content specifically, this should also be a huge contender on your list because of Sony's processing, especially like I mentioned earlier, the XR motion specifically. All of the things I've outlined in this video make this a great TV, and honestly, I think if you got it, you really wouldn't be ill impressed. And due to the fact that the new ones are coming out, these have come down in price, which again is another reason to go for this model specifically. But there you have it, that's been the Sony A80J. And let me know in the comments what you use your TV for. Do you play games on the TV? Do you just watch TV, or do you stream things on Netflix, or do you just use your computer? Anyway, my name's been Alex, this has been TechFlow, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.